So we started off essentially by developing a high-level process map of what our business does. We broke the business down into various chunks and understood actually what actually is used to generate value. And from this, we've then taken parts of those processes that fit together neatly, and we've actually developed a high-level analysis plan that is in 4 weekly chunks. We're currently in about the 5th chunk of that, or actually 6th now. And essentially, we've then used an Agile Delivery approach to push that through the sort of whole process of developing new processes, developing new software. We start off with high-level analysis, and that's usually myself and a colleague of mine. What we will do is we will look very carefully at what that process actually delivers. I've come up with a theory in my own mind that, and I've heard a lot of people talk about what is process. Somebody, I think it might have been Daryl, said it's just doing work. And actually, I've come to the conclusion myself that if you take a very broad view of data, because in a sense, a physical item or a physical thing is just a physical version of data, all processes are about creating or modifying data in some form or other. So therefore, what we do in the high-level analysis step is look at what it is that this process is actually producing. What is the purpose of the process? We don't get too hung up about what the as-is is at all. And my role really is to look at that and look at how we would do this if we were a greenfield company. If we were starting afresh, starting perfectly, how would we actually deliver that? And then what I do is every 4 weeks, I have a process review meeting. I sit with the CEO, the financial director, the HR director, and the chief operations officer, and I present proposals. And if I've pitched it right, I'm hoping that about 25% of those proposals are probably too radical. So we have a real debate about how far we could really stretch those processes. What could we do? And some of the stuff we talk about is quite radical in approach. And we agree what we believe we can actually achieve and what we think is suitable for the company on that basis. We then move into detailed analysis, where I've got a couple of analysts who essentially take those high-level sort of concepts and effectively design the specifications for workflows. And not all of it's workflow in some case of it. So some might be Appian workflows, but some might be just a change in the way we do manual processes. Some of it might be changes in the way we produce reports or the content of reports. So there's a whole variety of things that we're doing there. And one of the things we do, that detailed analysis, is we're focusing very much on the to-be process. We don't like to do too much of the as-is, because very often the as-is process can be quite a distraction from where you want to end up. We then, having got those, for example, if we're doing workflows, we then build the workflows, and we build them so we've got an agile development approach. We work on a 2-weekly cycle. And our aim is very much to get those workflows out into the business as soon as possible. One thing we've learned very early on from Appian is that you can spend too long trying to polish it up and get it perfect. And as soon as it hits real life, you'll find where the real problems are. You can talk to someone and say, how do you do your job? And you think you've got all the information. And as soon as they actually try and use something, they say, oh, I forgot to tell you this. So essentially, what we're trying to do is very, very quickly, usually in about 4 weeks after the start of development, getting something out that we're actually trialing in one region. And we get the feedback from those regions that we're trialing in, and we very quickly iterate around that point with a view to sort of 4 weeks to 6 weeks later rolling it out across the business. I mean, it feels a bit like a hamster wheel, because once we've done one less of high-level analysis, there's another high-level analysis following, and the whole thing stacks up. So at the moment, I'm sitting there and I'm looking at our partner recruitment process at the moment in high-level analysis, but then I've got some analysis on our property, the low-level analysis on our property compliance is going on at the moment, and we're doing workflows on our credits processes and so on. So there's a whole raft of stuff that's always flowing through. And one thing that I took this from Gartner, and it's a Gartner comment, it's just sort of almost the motto of how we do stuff, is failing forward fast. In a sense that we would rather do things quickly, make some mistakes and learn from those mistakes than spend too long sitting around with it in the office or in the development teams perfecting it. Very, very agile approach.